Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Midwest Mindset with your host, Paul Tyson and
Jay Petoniak.
the Jay Petoniak. So today's question, we are going to talk about what do you value in life? And I love this topic as I do all of our topics because I just get excited when I have to do a little bit of research and kind of dig into these. And I know you do too, Jay. You mentioned this earlier, but I'm excited about this one because I think it might take us a direction that we don't normally go. Not a question that we ask ourselves each and every day. And what I mean by that is I think it's very easy to say when we ask ourselves, what do you value in life? Ask, anybody, your friends, your family, anybody. You're like, well, of course I value my kids. I value my wife, my friends, my family, my relationships. But then what? How do we expand? What do you value past that? And it kind of goes through like what you spend the most time with, the most time on sometimes tells you, do you value that? So
Yeah.
it's a question that I love to just to kind of riff about. And so, Jay, why don't you take it away from here?
Yeah. I kind of thought of the different values that I have, and obviously, yeah, the easy ones, your wife, your family, your friends, all that kind of stuff. One thing that I've thought of recently, and I think values and what's important obviously changes through your life, but right now I think balance is a big one for me. I value balance in my life. So I think for many, many years I was very work focused, or I still am, but I put everything into work and sacrificed other things for it, right, for a while. And
Right.
so as and we're in even to an unhealthy perspective, point of things. So
Sure.
and as times went on and I've gotten older, and balance is something that I've really found important, being able to prioritize the things that are important. So make sure I'm spending my time, my energy on those things. So instead of working that extra hour or 2 hours or whatever at work, making sure I can get out for my kids' games, which I is a something that I find really important, right? I love getting out to my kids, well, your kids' games, all the sports or activities they do. So so that's something, as a value is important to me, and that takes balancing your time and making sure you're scheduling and prioritizing correctly, and not and making sure you're not doing anything to an unhealthy extent with with any aspect of your life. So that was a big one for me, and it just comes from past experience, not really thinking about that, just being kind of one way, one looking forward only in one part of my life. So so
So,
that's
so
that's
give
one
me
thing
an
I found.
Yeah, so I think time is a very important one, right?
Yeah.
What you end up spending your time with tells the story of what you value probably most. And if it's just work and it's just the busyness of work because you don't want to maybe, address something that's going on in a relationship or with your kids or whatever it might be, that tells a message. Where you're spending that time really does tell people what you value. And so
Yeah.
give me an example of when you did that where there was imbalance with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's there was a time where I had a 1 hour commute each way to work, or 50 minutes or so, and I would work till, and this was when Brady, my son, was born. I mean, this was way back when, but we had a new baby in the house, and I was working till 6 o'clock at night, wouldn't get home till 7, and and that went on for a good year easily. And it was more like I felt I needed to be there to provide and to make sure I was doing a good job, and instead of being home with my kid and my wife. So I think that was one that I look back on that one quite a bit. And that was also, kind of a hard time for my wife because she was balancing that and other things too. So
Sure.
put a lot extra on her plate. So I wasn't putting, her or my kid as a priority for a little bit there. So
You know, no, that's a great example. And by the way, just a little side note. First of all, I have a different location for today. I have the nice Midwest background, the Twin Cities poster behind me, and I'm kind of liking this Johnson with this. So I like the new location. But also, I just wanted to say, what's interesting is if I ask you a question, the first thing you do is you kind of look up and to the left when you start thinking about not your whole head, but your eyes go boom right over here. I don't
oh,
know.
interesting.
Yeah, it's
Eh,
interesting how certain
hap-
things you go to the up and left and then to the right. So I don't know what that means. We'd have to have a profile person tell us
Yeah.
what part of the brain that you're
Some
cognitively
sort of
reaching with that.
twitch I have.
Your nervous twitch or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's a great one, because I think that's definitely one that comes up a lot, right? Commute. I know my sister-in-law had a situation where, like, literally her school was hour each way, before and after, and then they were in LA traffic. Like, it was difficult, and it took a toll. And sometimes we get so caught up in the, like, hey, it's a good job, it's a good setting, we're going to do it, make some hard decisions. Last week we talked about doing hard things. That's fine, but reevaluating that and saying, do I really choose to spend 2.5, 3 hours with not having productive time? I mean, we could talk about even taking the kids to school. That's fine, but you're really evaluating what is that worth that time? Because that's one of the things that's very finite on this earth, right? We only have a certain amount of time that we have on this earth. So the more that we can maximize that and crush it, it's good to check into those values.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also, and I've worked in a job for 5 years where I would, work 60 plus hours a week for the last couple of years of that. And I found there's a point of diminishing returns working that long, right? Like, you may think you're being productive all those 50, 60 hours. You're not. It's, once you hit a certain amount, it's actually it's probably worse for you than it is better to be from a productivity standpoint and quality of life standpoint.
Right. And that's where I think, we did a podcast, or I did a podcast before you joined on discipline. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me evaluate, like, if I truly value time with family, I want to be as productive as I can be in my real job. So if I have to, get something done so I can leave a little bit early to make sure I see a kid's lacrosse game or baseball game or whatever it might be, that means I'm going to start a little bit earlier. So it's the discipline of showing up. So it's what do I value? I value that time with them. So therefore, I need to adjust the time in order to, still have the job that pays for the lifestyle that we hope to provide for them, right?
For sure. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
When I was thinking about this, I went back to, obviously my family, my wife, my kids, and friends and relationships. But then, about a year and a half ago, when I decided to do this coaching business, one of the things that I really discovered was when I found my why. I found the rationale for what I want to do outside of my career and everything else. I truly want to inspire others to be more self-confident in themselves, both physically and mentally. That's my why. I discovered it. I'm excited about it. What's great about that is that's infinite. I'll never, in my time on this finite earth, I have the opportunity to keep doing that, right? It's not going to be like, oh, I've inspired everybody and now everything's good, right? I have the opportunity. I get to, as we like to say on this podcast, I get to have that discussion time and time again with new people. That opportunity to show up and serve and help others become more self-confident in themselves. Because I know full well that when I'm more self-confident, I'm a better father. Whoop, hit my mic here. I'm a better father. I'm a better husband. I'm a better friend. And I don't mean it to be like self-confident in an egotistical way, but more self-confident in the fact, like, I also don't have to be the loudest in the room. That wasn't always the case. I used to, especially at work, I used to always have to pronounce my how smart I was, or prove myself to the group and let everybody know that, this is my opinion. Make sure everybody knew that this is what I thought. And now, as I've become more self-confident, I actually think my ego is really kind of pulled back a little bit. Some people might disagree with that, but I'm serious. So I'm like, I value that. I value the opportunity to serve and work on inspiring people. Like this morning, teaching class, this extreme fitness, there was only 7 people signed up. It was kind of a weird week, a lot of travel, a lot of vacation for people. But all of a sudden there was people in the club, because they've seen the excitement that I've tried to build there, that started joining the class. We ended up having 11 or 12 people by the end of the class. And that excites the hell out of me. And so that opportunity, because then I know I show up better if I can inspire others. And one particular story is there was a lady in there that said, I would love to join, but it looks like you guys have some heavy weights. I can't, put my arm over my shoulder. I have I'm nursing a shoulder injury. I said, great, please join us. We have modifications. We have all these different things. She ended up showing up for the class. I showed her a number of different things. So I start the class off, everybody's going, the music's pumping. And then I show her just a couple, little modifications. And through that transition, she stayed through the whole class. And by the end of class, like she was like, wow, that was fun. And I'm like, that's the win. Those are the wins that I'm looking for. And that's what I value, is that whole opportunity to help somebody else who maybe is kind of going through, if she's got an injury, going through a tough place. How can I inspire her? That's definitely something I value. I love that. So I don't know, it's kind of going off on a tangent.
You can tell by the way you talk about it, that's your authentic self, that you can tell how you get excited when you share those stories. It's not about you, it's about what the other person, and making, having them maybe push outside their comfort zone, or having them adapt to whatever. And you can tell that obviously that is your why, is helping people, and the excitement you get from that. So that's pretty cool.
Well, but it's twofold though. It really is. And so there still is maybe perhaps, I don't want to say selfish. I don't think selfish is the right word, but my limited vocabulary doesn't allow me to find out exactly what I'm thinking. What I'm saying though, is that I think that I know there's a benefit to me. I know I feel better when I'm able to serve and help somebody else. Right. And so that comes full circle with this. When we talk about what do I value in life, I value helping somebody out. Now, I love to do it when I can do it to somebody that's really close to me, like my wife, my kids. Like I said, I was reading something that my son wrote this morning. He's about to go off to college, and man, I was like, geez, as soon as we think that, oh, we're worried about this, we're worried about that, these kids got it figured out. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're a lot smarter than we maybe give them credit for, and they pick up on a lot of the things that we're really putting out there. And so I just think that, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm going on a rant a little bit.
No, you see, like, oh, they actually, do get it, or they have listened to, all the stuff that we've talked about growing up with them and whatnot. So
right,
that it's stuck with them. Some certain things, but the stuff that's important to them is stuck with them. So
totally. So, when we're talking about, what else do we value? I think even showing the example with the kids is that, I love promoting a healthy lifestyle and inspiring others and empowering others, but more importantly, but also fostering personal growth. I think that's one of the things I like to do. Like, I'm always trying to learn. A good example of this week is this last week, I went to a different class at Lifetime Fitness. It's called GTX. I've never been there to it before, but a friend of mine was teaching it, and Lisa, and she does a spectacular job, and that also helps that she has a British accent, and it's absolutely awesome to listen to. But it was a different course and a different type of process, and I'm like, all right, maybe this is something I want to teach. And when it was interesting, did the whole class for a full hour, and I was like, Lisa did a bang up job. She did a great job of instructing and working through the class. But I'm like, God, there's just something about this class that just didn't resonate with me. And it was funny because I'm like, I'm open to it. And actually I learned some different moves and some different whys, some different, why are we doing what we're doing here? Like, Lisa does a really good job of explaining that. But yet as a group fitness instructor, I thought, I think I could teach it, but that wouldn't like get me excited. Like you just saw it, like when I, perked up when I said I can serve others. Yeah, I could help people, but I kind of like the format of the boot camp style and some of the other things is group fitness, because I love the music. I love putting my own playlist together. I love getting the excitement, and it's really kind of a party. And oh yeah, we have weights and we have some exercise that we're doing for 45 minutes. So it was interesting. So what I'm getting at is I'm curious. I want to learn, but I'm also, because I value time so much, I believe that like that course, that class is a cool class, but it's maybe just not the right fit for me. And that's all right as well. Right.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like, I don't know if this is right, but like you have to know when to say no to things, right? Like you could force that into your, into your routine or whatever, but it's like, you know what? No, that's not the direction I want to go. Right. So, and that could be saying no to lots of things in life, right? We are pleasers and try to say yes to everything, but to recognize that that's not for you, and stay with what stay with what is working for you right now.
Well, yeah, things that make you show up better, things that
Yeah.
you can grow and learn on. It's funny because I have that written down as one of my notes because it just happened this week again. The power of saying no. I think the more I can do it, and in a with some empathy, I think, to certain situations, but the more I can say no to something and be all right with it, boy, I think it's empowering. And then it goes
Yeah.
back to, once again, the title of today's topic about it allows me to focus time on what I value most.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the inspiring others to be more self-confident. That's inspiring others to be more physically confident in themselves and what that looks like. So yeah, definitely.
Very
So
cool.
what else did you have on the value in life? What do you value most?
Yeah, I mean, one of mine is just how I connect with people, right? And how that could be work or just people I meet, things like that. And one of the, I was thinking about this, and it's pretty consistent in all of my life, but it's humor, right? Like, I feel like it's kind of a weird one. I mean, people don't really feel humor is probably a core value, but it's like we're here for a short amount of time, so
why not have fun while we're doing
why
it,
not
right?
have fun, and they always say how many muscles it takes to smile versus frown, right? It's it
No,
takes a
I don't
lot.
know that. What? Go ahead. What?
I think it takes like a lot more muscle to frown versus smile. So you might, I don't know. It's easier to smile. I don't know. I messed the whole quote up. I should look it up, put it up. But
Sure.
but it's like it's like the chemicals that are released when you're on a high and laughing and things like that. Think of how it makes you feel when you're watching a funny movie or whatnot. So and I like. I kind of try to find humor just in the mundane, everyday life type stuff, right? It doesn't have to be a joke or anything like that. It's just what I find and what I see in the world. It's kind of like Jerry Seinfeld does it. He can actually talk to the mundane, right? I'm not a comedian, but like I can try to see the funny things in the world around me and just appreciate that, and it makes me smile, and that's what makes me happy. And so it reminds me don't take yourself so seriously, right? We're here for a short time, and it feels good to make others laugh, and I definitely try to do that through certain ways,
Well,
like
self-deprecation.
self-deprecation, and it's a way to connect with people. I mean, everybody tells jokes or likes jokes, things like that. It can, at work, it kind of can diffuse the tension that goes on sometimes, right? If you have a laid back environment and like more of a obviously this doesn't take away from working hard or things like, or not being serious in life at all, but it's like, let's have a little fun with it, and things like that. And so like my kids and love to tape me like randomly during the day when I don't even know it. And they have like a group text between them, all three of them, of like stupid, funny things that I do that I don't even know that I'm doing.
Yep.
And it's like, I could get mad about that, but it's kind of funny that they get a kick out of some of the things that I do, regardless if they're, I don't know, just entertaining to me or not. But it's that brings me joy, also. So
yeah. Well, I have two comments on that, because first of all, I think that's hilarious. Yeah. So for the listener, if you don't know, so Jay's three kids literally will tape him doing something Jayish, which is, either running down the road, interestingly, or sleeping on the couch with his feet up or whatever might happen. And they share it, and they don't just share it with themselves. They share it with all the relatives too. So we get a chance to see Jay at his finest, which I love your sense of humor about it, because you do just laugh it off. But so the story that I have is I literally just took your daughter to the airport, right? She's going on a lacrosse trip.
Yeah.
She had us all in like we were crying. We were laughing so hard in a short period of time. And we're like, if this isn't Jay on steroids, it is unbelievable. I mean, from the moment she got in the car to the moment we dropped her off at the airport, like she brought up the Kardashians in a fist fight or something like that. And then her opinion of it. And it was just like, where does she get this? And it's not
I don't
even
know where she gets it. Yeah.
Oh, well, of course she gets it from you, man.
No, she's a mini me. Yeah.
A total mini me in your situation. So I love that, because there's some huge wins there. When life gets difficult, there you can use humor. We can use that. You value that. And you also mentioned too how humor and a sense of humor can change the dynamic of a situation. And when I think about that, I think to probably my favorite top 5 anyway, favorite stories as a kid. And this goes back to when mom and dad, it was a Saturday. We're all home. Jeff, John, and I, the whole family's sitting around the kitchen table. We're gonna have dinner. Dad's gonna grill steaks. Dad brought steaks home from the meat market. We're all St. Joe meat market. We're like, we're gonna have steaks tonight. This is gonna be great. Well, Dad had a long day. He's having a few Pfeiffer's beers by the grill, and we're sitting there, and I don't know, it was just kind of a long day. We're all sitting there, and then literally one of Jeff's cats, out of the blue, jumps up on the grill without Dad noticing, takes one of the steaks and runs off with it. And I, for the listener who doesn't know my dad, which I'm sure all you do because most of you are family and friends, but my dad considers like his steaks that he makes on the grill like a bar of gold, like literally, like they're that valuable to him. And so for a cat to take one of his bars of gold and ruin it and wreck it, I mean, he was furious, maybe said some choice words, everything. The tension was just literally like up here from the moment we had to share our steaks and go inside and share the steaks that Dad worked so hard to get and all this. And it was like, you could drop a pin. It was so quiet. And we're like, geez, what the hell? And so everybody's tense. Everybody's anxiety is up because Dad's anxiety is up. And, we're all on pins and needles. And I think it was Jeff, literally, out of the blue, we're sitting there and Dad's like, pass the salt. We're all sitting down. We're finally settling in to have this very tense meal. And Dad's like, pass the salt. The only person talking because everybody else was too scared to talk. Jeff pushes the salt over to Dad and says, yeah. And we all freaking lost it. Like literally lost it. Not my dad so much, but we all lost it. And literally like it broke the tension. Dad kind of like probably smiled because he couldn't not laugh a little bit because we all like literally just fell off our chair laughing. And Jeff was always the youngest, and so he could probably get away with it. John or I would have done it. We would have paid for it, with a scolding or some sort or being chewed out. But it was one of those things when you talk about humor changing the dynamic. So the rest of the night, that was one of our favorite meals. And like I said, we literally laughed so hard at that. So that's something we bring up probably once or twice a year when we get together as family. But humor is a great one.
Diffuses the tension, right? And it's like, why not laugh about it, right? But that's pretty funny.
What also puts a lot of things in perspective too, right? It's like, what's, what is it the end of the world? Did anybody get seriously injured? Is anybody, asking ourselves those questions? Now, if this happens, is anybody going to go to jail? No, the steak fell on the ground. The damn cat, ruined the steak. So what? We can either go get a new one or we could just relax and have a laugh about it.
Yep.
But what we choose to focus our time on are things, to get back to full circle of what we're talking about, what we value the most. Like my dad really valued that steak, probably a little too much, right?
Right.
So poking fun at it, I think is definitely a power tool when doing that. So I love that example.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah. It's kind of like the no use crying over spilt milk, right? Like it's not, not worth the effort of that. So hey, I found the quote too about it takes 43 muscles to frown and 17 to smile. So you might as well smile. It's a lot less effort. So
there you go. So when I was on that huge, tangent of a story,
I was listening.
Google.
Well, I've heard it before a couple times too. So.
Well, that could be right for sure. No, that's great. But so say that again. It takes how many muscles to frown?
It takes 43 muscles to frown and 17 to smile. So you might as well smile more.
Awesome.
Not a great quote, but it's just kind of funny.
No, I like the quote, and that is probably a good place to kind of put a cap on this, unless there's something else that you want to bring into, though. I think what you spend your time with, what you value most in life, tells a message. So why not focus that message on doing something that's a little bit easier and a little bit more fun? That's smiling and making people laugh.
Definitely. Awesome. Good stuff.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend. And thanks for joining. Thanks for listening.
You too. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.